Hello and welcome to Blade Bench. Today we're checking out the Ti-Lite 6-inch by Cold Steel, and this is the aluminum handled version with the AUS8A Blade steel and the kind of like bead blasted finish. And of course, if you guys like these videos, please like and subscribe. It really helps grow the channel. And let's check this bad boy out. I've got a couple of these. They make these in a whole bunch of different styles. Short ones, long ones, ones with crisp blades, fully serrated blades. This one, which is just like the straight kind of fine edge dagger point. Really, really cool that they have so many options of these. And as I mentioned, this is the 6-inch version. So this thing has an overall length of 13 inches. So this thing definitely gets into the pocket sword realm. You can see with two hands on there, and I've got, pretty medium to largish hands. I get both my hands on there easily. And a really, really big blade on there. So definitely in the pocket sword category, definitely in the freak out your coworkers category. Anytime you whip out any of these big 6-inch Ti-Lites, you get a pretty big reaction from whoever you're with. They're really impressive and really big. Like, put my hands down here. I mean, look how big that thing is. That's a really big, really long knife. And some of you may notice it actually looks a little bit off. My coworker, I took this to work on my very first day. I took this thing to work. One of my buddies at work said, hey, you got a knife? And then of course, I said, yes, I do. So I whipped out this bad boy. I had it for like 12 hours. I just bought the thing. And so he walked away with it, came back. And when he came back, I flicked it open because it was cool and I'm just checking it out. And he started walking away and I was like, whoa, yo, dude, what's going on here? Oops. And he totally had snapped the tip off. This knife actually used to be about 1/8 of an inch longer. So you can see I've ground that down. These things usually have a really nice tip. I'm going to see if I can kind of show you. Yeah, actually, I did a pretty darn good job. Maybe you guys can let me know if I did a good job or not. But what I did is I filed down this, the back edge as well as the tip here and tried to keep it somewhat aligned. But man, was I pissed. It was my first Ti-Lite. I was super pumped with it. I just got it and buddy breaks the tip off. Yeah, I was chapped. But anyways, I'm digressing hugely there in my weird story there. But yeah, really fun, knives to carry at work. And they're really functional too. I use this thing a ton for opening packages or anything really. They're really nice because of how thin this blade profile is. They're really perfect for piercing and slicing. Really, really cool task. I know they're obviously very stiletto inspired, these things, like just like a giant stiletto on steroids. They've got these really cool quillions, which are actually also functional. I know they kind of keep your hand from, riding up on the blade if you're holding it. But they actually do act as a bit of like an Emerson wave sort of thing. So when this thing's sat down in your pocket, these quillions, which are quite aggressively jimped, it's kind of hard to come across on camera, but they're not rounded at all. Like those are very aggressive little bits of metal. So when you drag this out of your pocket, it actually will catch on there and deploy, and deploys actually really, really easily. It's a really neat design. The one downside of it though that I found, and the one I've actually got a Chris Ti-Lite that I carried for work forever, one of the 6-inch Chris ones with a fully serrated blade. I'll do a video on that later. But I actually ground this quillion off. So grinding that one off, which one? Kept one of them, which is nice. But the reason why was because these are so long, the handle length the handle's quite long. I think the handle is like a good 8 inches. Let's measure it real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8.5 inches. Because it's so long, I mean, it fills up your pocket. So it sits all the way in the bottom of your pocket. And these sharp little tangs here, they literally just sit there and saw away at your pocket. And I repeatedly had to sew up the holes in my pockets because this thing was just eating holes in my pockets, and I kind of got sick of it. So I just I did a good job of it too, and I'll show you in the video that I do later. But I just ground this right off so it was flush. And then I didn't have that issue anymore. I never used it as you know, the wave function out of the pocket, so I didn't miss it at all. These things deploy with thumb stud, and because of the detent, they deploy really easily. So just a flick, just a little flick, and they fly right open. The pivot was always, you know, tuned up really nice on mine. But one thing that I noticed, and I don't know if it's because Buddy dropped it, and maybe some of you guys, if anybody has one of these, because my Chris Ti-Lites don't do this, but my regular Blade one, listen to this. And you can see here, look at all that play in the detent there. And I've tried tightening the pivot. It's not something to do with that. Look at all that play there. I've never had a cold steel knife with play. None of my other Ti-Lites, and I've got 3 other ones. So this is my number 4. None of them do it. I don't know if Buddy, he never really told me what he did with it. I don't know if he just dropped it on the tip or what he did, and he kind of, you know, ovaled out that detent or something. But yeah, it's got a bit of a wiggle there. But super, that's minor. Super smooth action on the thing. So they do have a few different handles on these. This is the aluminum handle scale, so it's kind of like a dark gray. It's got, and you can see it does have a little bit of texture to it. If you look real close, you can see it's got, you know, like an orange peely. So it's not perfectly smooth, but it is basically smooth. But the thing is with these Ti-Lites is they have all these little holes in them, and they work very, very nicely as a form of grip. Really, really nice. And what you can see here, how they have, and I'll put it on my hand so you can really see the silhouette of it. They've got these palm swells where it kind of, you know, gets a little thicker here, thinner here, and then swells up at the back, almost, you know, like an axe handle. So it really hugs your hand in to, you know, a nice position here, even right kind of in the middle where that palm swell is. You've got quite a few options of really, really comfortable grips on there. And because of all these little circles in the handles, you feel really locked in, even though that this is a smooth handle. I think I do actually prefer, what do they call them? The Zytel handles, like on the Chris Ti-Lites, you know, that with the flat dark earth. They almost have, they're like basically a plastic grip, but they almost have like a rubberized texture to them. They're not rubberized, but they feel rubberized. These aluminum handle ones are supposed to be a little bit more high end, but I think I prefer the plastic ones. They just have a kind of nicer feel in the hand. As I mentioned, this is the AUS8A Blade steel. I've never had a problem with any of these AUS8 or AUS10 Japanese steels that Cold Steel uses on these knives. You can, if you look close enough, this thing's actually been in my knife box for a while. Yeah, there, right there. And on the other side too, I think. I've got a little bit of oxidation happening. I should take some oil and just, you know, like a little, not quite sandpaper, but maybe like a, you know, like a Brillo cloth sort of thing, and just clean that off. But the bead blasted finish on the AUS8 steel is, I've never had a problem, and it sharpens really well. Even this tip, I'll kind of show you. I had to put a new edge on it there. Oh, I couldn't believe that dude gave me my knife back with my tip snapped off. Man, I was chapped. But even there, is really nice and sharp. So yeah, nice blade steel, holds an edge really well. And yeah, just a really, really fun knife. It is a liner lock, and on these Ti-Lites, it's not just a regular thin liner lock. So you can see they do have steel liners in here and a full-length backspacer, which I quite like. I always put my initials in my knives. I don't know if that's a good idea or a bad idea, but I always do it. So it's kind of cool with the aluminum because you really have the contrast there to, you know, if you want to engrave something on here, you can actually see it. Really nice backspacer, really nice fit and finish on these knives, minus that detent problem, but I think it's because Buddy dropped it and he actually messed it up. I wouldn't blame this thing. None of my other ones do that. Really nice fit and finish. There is a little bit of a cutout for this liner, so you can see the liner isn't just a thin little lock here. It extends and they bend it over to give it this extra angle of strength. And then they've got quite a lot of, you know, texture. Not quite, I wouldn't quite call that jimping, but you can see that they've got some really nice texture on there. So, and I know that cutout's kind of ridiculously small, but it actually just perfectly fits your thumb as it goes in there. So you've got a nice it's easy enough to push aside, but it's a really nice, good, strong liner lock as far as liner locks go. Closes really well. Really, really fun to fly open. I don't really know what else to say about it. I mean, they're really cool, super fun knives. If anybody doesn't have any of these 6-inch Ti-Lites, I would definitely pick one up because they're not super expensive. These ones with the kind of cheaper blade steels, the AUS8A, they usually run for about $100 up in Canada here. And really, I mean, for all the knife you get and all the quality, the fit and finish is awesome on these. The wow factor and just kind of the fun factor of these things, it's worth that all day long. It is kind of, it's like I know it looks like a dagger point knife. This is a false edge. I should note, if nobody's seen these, this isn't sharpened on the backside. I suppose you could put an edge on there if you wanted to, but it is just the one edge here. And it's cool that they kind of have they've got a Ti-Lite for everyone. They've got the 4-inch ones, the 6-inch ones, fully serrated, fine edge. They've got the crisp, with the wiggly kind of crisp blade. So if everybody should be able to find a size and a blade style that suits them. And they're really fun knives, and they're slim. They sit down in your pocket. For all this knife, you get a 13-inch long knife here. For all of that knife, I mean, I know that's the palm swell part, but you've basically got about a 1-inch, handle sticking down in there. So, and a 1-inch thing sitting down in your pocket just kind of rides down the edge of your pocket. You notice it. It's a decently heavy knife. I think it's about 7.5 ounces or so. You notice it weight-wise, but pocket-wise, you can still throw keys and whatever, little bits and bobs. Maybe not a cell phone, but you could throw some keys down in your pocket and yeah, still be able to reach in there. And they're a great knife. So for the value and for what you get with these things and how fun they are, like, definitely pick one up. They've got one that'll suit your needs for sure. But yeah, anyways, thanks a lot, guys, for listening. Again, if you guys like these videos, please like and subscribe. It's really helping grow the channel. And I've got a lot more of these really cool kind of bigger folders that I want to do. So yeah, please like and subscribe and watch the next vid. Awesome. Thanks, guys. See you next time.